Hello, and welcome to our description of what we have learned so far in our Java 260 class, Object-Oriented Programming. Right now we're working on a game called the Duchess of Damascus. Our game is about the survival of the Duchess of Damascus and her escape from the trials of the Temple of the Sun. We designed this game to be in several different rooms. Each room, the Duchess encounters different trials. These trials vary from math games to riddles and even a game of luck. The trials also vary in difficulty and get harder as the game progresses. We designed our game to be in several different things, including UML diagrams. Bernardo?
That's right. So, I am going to show you that UML diagram that we created. Give me 1 second. There we go. Basically, this UML diagram is for our model layer. We have a player who has access to maps. The maps has locations, and the locations have rooms, which the actor can access, and the room also contains doors. Each room will contain a puzzle or a challenge which will have to be completed so that this room can provide an object. Now these objects are going to be linked to our player through an inventory, and these objects are going to be basically either orbs, which can help the player open different doors, and the orb will contain orb parts, which then will convert into the orb. The player also will have a journal which will contain clues which are found on the maps and puzzle rooms just across all of them. So these orbs and clues will be found in this area over here in the rooms and through the puzzles. Finally, the player contains, well, I guess the player contains menus, which is the game menu and just the main menu. Both of them can be accessed at any time, and will record the time that the player played, and we'll record this just to know which player has the best time in the game. So after this, we'll move to our layers, model layers of the game. First time using this. Okay.
Over me?
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right, guys. Now I'm going to talk about the model layers. Actually, just two different layers. We've got a model layer, a view layer, and a control layer. I'm going to explain what these different layers do and how we implement them in our game. If we go over to my screen here, we'll open up NetBeans. All right. In our project tab, you'll see that we have several different layers. Right here is our control. This contains different things for various game components. Right now we're going to have a couple of them. I'll bring you to our Yahoo control. This is one of the trials that we have. The player is playing Yahtzee pretty much against the host. Player rolls, and whoever has the highest roll wins a point. The best 3 out of 5 will win. You'll notice that here in our control layer, it takes care of all of the math for what we're doing, all the calculations needed. Whereas our model layer, if we go to that, our model layer contains different rooms, such as our getter and settings. It also allows it to be serializable, and even helps. And even helps with our constructor and allows access to properties because of our getter and setter. Other things we have are our view layer. We're currently working on our view layer and haven't started that yet. But as soon as one's up, we get to it. The view layer is pretty much what you see as a user. It allows you to view. It's the interface that you go through, and that's pretty much what you won't see any of our code going on. You'll see what we have created there for you to view, and that's pretty great because you don't want people to look at do this function or do that function and all the math that's going on behind the scenes. And so that's the purpose of these different layers. It helps you to separate everything, make it modular and encapsulates it, allowing us to better find where problems are. If we're having problems with the display, we go to the view layer. If something's not coming up right, then we can go to our control layer and figure out what's going wrong in the calculations. And all this kind of works together. The view layer works with both the model layer and the control layer. They go back and forth to figure different things out. Yep. And now we're going to talk about different things in the model layer, and those are Java beans.
All right. So Java beans, very fun stuff. Where is my NetBeans? Here it is. Okay. So as we know, our Java beans are basically objects that encapsulate a lot of objects into one. So for example, I'm going to take the time to explain our location class in our model layer. So we have a whole bunch of locations. So we create a private string, which is going to be our location. Private we use to make sure that none other classes will use this variable over here, and we make it serializable so that it's able to be used across our network, and it's able to be saved as different objects. We have our getter and setter options right here, and of course our logic on the very bottom. So we used all this with each of our classes. Game class, again, we can see that we first use our private variables to make sure that they're not used by anybody else. So the only class that can use this variable in this case is our game class. Again, it's serializable to make sure that it can be used and saved across our game. Or player, all of these have different objects, which then we want to encapsulate into just one object and make sure that we can use this this instance variables on them. So the way we basically came up with this was we first designed the idea. We came up with the idea, then after that we separated the idea into our UML diagram to make sure that we had the right organization of the game. We had every object and aspect of the game inside a diagram, and then we separated this diagram into classes that we could use. So in this case, game, location, maps, menus, all that. Then we created another diagram for a control layer, which then would give, I guess, life to all of our objects. We create these objects here, then we tell them what to do on this control layer. And finally, the view, which we're going to be working on later on, will help us display this to the user. I think it's very important for us to just understand that the process that we followed while developing this application was first through planning, then through coding or developing, and then at the end through testing, and we created a test matrix for one of our classes, actually, which is the Yahtzee control. However, we did not get it to work in its entirety, so it doesn't quite work, but it is part of the process that we are supposed to have. So after this, we're gonna go to the different type of data types and parameters by Stephen.
All right. Well, I am here to talk about our different types of parameters and data. So primitive data types. We're going to go to our Yahtzee control. This right here is going to show you all the different data types we have. Right here, you'll notice we've got integers and variables. Each of these has a specific role playing down in the later functions. Real quick, I wanted to talk about parameters when calling a function. You'll notice right here that we have a function, public static void. This is the setter function. Inside of this function, you'll notice within the parentheses, this is what's called a parameter. As we use this function in other parts of our programs and other classes, when we use this function, we'll also have parts in the parentheses that will use this function as well, and they will call this parameter. The role one, for example, is what they'll use there. Going down, we're going to go see some of the different functions that we created for this trial here that we have. Right now, this is a game of Yahtzee, and so we needed roles. This right here is going to pretty much calculate a random roll. It's a roll of 6 dice, and this will give us a varying range from the lowest possible number, which is 6, which would be all ones on all the dices, to the highest, which is 36. And then each of these will develop right here. This will get a result for the player. This will be what the player rolls, and this will be what the ghost rolls in our game. As we continue down, we have another function over here. This function will track points and determine a winner. Right here, it will compare what the two scores are to give each player a point. That's noted in the NPC win count and the player win count. We have a while statement here that compares who is going to win. For example, it also will go and re-roll until we get to our 5. So right here, if either of these reach the number 3, which is where you win, then it will stop this while loop. Until then, it will keep asking for a player result and a ghost result until it is determined that one player has won. And here, just little messages saying if you win, or if you lost, or if you need to try again. If for some reason, which there shouldn't be, you tie, we have that in there. That's that for right now. Let's see. Yeah, these are our different operators and what they do. Now we're just gonna talk about a variable scope in Java.
All right. So I finally found my NetBeans here. So just, I guess this would be more like a quick review. We talked about Java beans already and how they encapsulate a lot of objects into one. So in a game, we could create many games by the use of these private variables. The public game, public string get time, and public set time are variables that can be used in general by other classes to create get and set times in this case. We always should make sure that our classes have a name that is related to the function they have. We were taught by Brother Jackson that applying names that are perhaps vague or not to the point, can be confusing for us later on looking at the code, or for future programmers who take over our code. So you've got to make sure that we have a name that is related. Also, with our variables, we should make sure always that we have the right type of variable here, string in this case for our time, or double for our numbers, integer for a set digit number. So these will just help us have more specific data in our program to then being able to do something with that information, and it's a lot easier when you have the right types. So yep, that's it for now. That's all we've learned in this past 3 weeks. It's been a great experience. We have learned a lot, and we hope to continue to learn a lot through this class. So this is the Duchess of Damascus, Stephen, Scott, and Bernardo Blanco.